Hi everybody, I'm Rajiv, and today we're going back to basics. Wool sweater. Hand wash, dry clean only. My wool sweaters are something that I love every winter. They smell great, they feel great, but at the end of the year, they get a little grimy, and I only wash a wool sweater once a year. A lot of people are very scared about washing wool, but I'm going to show you how to do it properly. Historically, wool clothing wasn't really washed at all. I have some examples here of historic clothing that would have never been washed. Something like this wool dress here, this part's all wool, this is silk, or these coats from the 18th century. Look at all this incredible embroidery and metallic thread. These coats were made of wool. That would have never, ever been immersed in water. This man's vest over here, these little tassels. I mean, if that was put into water with all this silk embroidery on top of it, it would just be ruined. So we know that in the 19th and 18th centuries, people didn't wash fine wool clothing. What they did is they had a practice of keeping the clothing clean from the inside. A woman would have been wearing 4 to 7 layers of undergarments under a dress like this. That's the stuff that would have been washed. It's only today that we've gotten so used to washing things, or because of dry cleaning, sending it off to the dry cleaner to be cleaned. But as long as you keep the underclothes fresh, this is going to stay clean inside. Where it gets dirty is stuff on the surface. So I will admit that I have been wearing this all winter, and there are some places where I spilled coffee, clumsy, and you can see here that the cuffs start to get dirty. So I wear my sweaters all winter, and then at the end of the year when it starts to get warm, I wash them by hand, I let them dry, I fold them up, and I put them away. And that way, when next winter comes around, I'm taking a fresh sweater out of the closet to be worn for the year. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. Taking this sweater and very carefully but efficiently making it clean for the end of the year. So your sweater that you love fits a certain way. It has a specific length from the neck to the hem, and there's a specific length of the sleeve, and that's what you're used to. So the thing you should do before you wash the sweater is just take a couple of measurements and note them down so that when you're laying it out flat to dry, you can reshape it to that exact length. I'm going to lay the sweater down flat, and I'm going to take a measurement with my tape measure from the very top of the shoulder seam right to the hem, and it is exactly 24 inches. So I'm gonna write that down in my book, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the sleeve. Taking my measurement from the hem of the sleeve, keeping it flat, 23¼ inches. You might think that you can't wash wool in hot water. You can. Hot water is not what shrinks wool. The change in temperature is what shrinks wool. Taking a sweater that's in hot water and lifting it up into the cold air, or taking a sweater that's in hot water and putting it directly in cold water, that's what causes the fibers to kind of meld together and shrink. When I wash a wool sweater, I like to wash it in slightly warm water. Because I'm only washing this once a year, because there's probably bits of grease on here as well, I like the water to be a little warm. And I'm just going to check with my hand to make sure that the water's not too hot. That's good. I'm going to add a little bit of some laundry detergent that's specifically made for washing wool. Just mix it in. I just love this sink so much. Once the sink has enough water in it, I'm going to use the same temperature water to fill a bucket. And that's going to serve as my rinse water. Because I'm very concerned about shocking the wool, I want the water temperature of the rinse water to be the same temperature of the water that the sink has when I pull the sweater out of it. So filling this up with the same temperature water right now will ensure that both temperatures are the same. Okay, that's good. Now I'll fill this. This sweater was worn a lot this winter, so that water that water might get pretty gross. It's kind of something I look forward to. Ooh, how dirty is that water gonna be? Small things amuse small minds. And good things come in small packages. When I worked at Pioneer Village, I worked a lot with the sheep's wool. And we'd shear our sheep every May, and then for the rest of the summer and the fall, I would wash it and dye it and spin it into yarn. So okay, so I learned a lot about how to treat wool and how to actually wash it by hand without shrinking it, because historically, when they processed yarn at home, they did it with hot water, and they didn't have fancy machines. Okay. Is this really bad? Let's roll with it, whatever. It's fine. So, put the sweater in the warm water. Now here's the thing. Once the wool is in the water, you want to be gentle with it. When it says hand wash on the label, it means treat it delicately. When wool is wet and it's in water, if you rub it together, it mats together. And if you want to create felt, that's actually how you intentionally create felt. You put wool in hot water, you rub it together, and then you lift it out and you put it in cold water and shock it and rub it together in there with soap, and that creates felt. We do not want to do that with a sweater. So once it goes in the water, all the movements are going to be very gentle. I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to press and submerge the sweater into the soapy water, like this. I'm just pressing, but I'm not going crazy. The only place I'm gonna do a little bit of rubbing is on these cuffs. And I can see the color of this water changing already. Now, a little more of this, just kind of patting it down. So this is a cream colored sweater. There's no dye coming off of this. And look at that water. It's very satisfying. So now, I'm just gonna leave this in here, and I'm gonna walk away and do something else and just allow it to sit in this water. More dirt's gonna be released from it, but more importantly, what's gonna happen is the water temperature is gonna drop. I don't wanna pull this sweater out of the water when it's still very warm. I want the water to be more like room temperature so that I don't shock the wool when I lift it out of the water into the air. So just go away and do something else for a little bit. So the sweater has been sitting in here for a little while, and look at that water. It is dirty. It's great. We're ready to switch the water and rinse the sweater. This bucket of water is actually, it feels warmer than this water. Yep, a lot warmer. I think it's because there's more surface area to this. So what I'm gonna do is just cool this water down a little bit, just to get it so that it's very close to the temperature of the water in the sink. So now, this is also important. When you remove the sweater from the water, do it gently, let it drip, and don't wring it out. You don't want to twist it, because remember, it's wet now and you can felt it if you agitate it too much. So just squeeze it like this, but don't wring it out. Drain this water out. So I can actually see bits of dirt, wow, in the sink. Look at this. I'm just gonna rinse that out before I rinse the sweater, okay? And now we have this water, which is the right temperature. The sweater goes back in here. Just press it down gently. And now, after doing that, I'm going to empty out this water. Squeeze this out again. Now if I took this sweater and I spread it apart and then wrung it, a lot more water would come out of it, but you'll really misshape it and you'll also potentially felt it. So the way we get out the excess water from the sweater is by using towels. Get a nice clean towel, take your sweater and place it gently on a towel with the arms at the sides and try to get it as spread out and flat as possible. And then fold the towel over the sweater and roll it up like this. Okay? And once it's rolled up, squeeze the towel. Give it a nice massage. And you can really squeeze. Again, I'm not wringing it like this. Do not do this. But just apply pressure to it. And this takes out most of the excess water. And the last step is to get another towel, open this up again, and oh, you can just, I can feel that there's hardly any water left in there. It's damp, but the towel took out most of that excess water. And the last thing I'm gonna do is spread the sweater out, and I'm gonna allow it to air dry flat like this. Now, here's the place where our measurements come into play. I have not pulled on the sweater at all, and I could pull this way, or I could pull this way. So let's just check to make sure that this point to this point is 24 inches, as I marked down before I washed it. It is not! Look at that! So this to this lying flat now is 23 1/4. So this should be pulled a little bit. See, that's why we took those measurements. 24 inches. Perfect. And the sleeve was 23 1/4. And this is 24. So it's a little too long. So if it's a little too long, then we widen it like this. So it means that while we were washing it, the sleeve was kind of pulled this way. We want to pull it out this way, which will shorten it a bit. So this is shaping the sweater before it dries. Shaping it while it's still damp, because it's going to dry to this shape. 23 1/4. Good. And now the other sleeve, same thing. I can already see now this is way too long. 26 inches long. Here's the thing. You can really misshape the sweater by washing it, and if you leave it that way, you know, one sleeve might be really long and one sleeve might be really short. So I got to shorten this by almost 3 inches, which means it needs to be a lot wider. 23 1/2. It's just a tiny bit more. There. We're done. So just, now that we know that the measurements are exact, just lay the sweater out and allow it to sit like this until it's dry. And when it's dry to the touch, you can just hang it like over a rail just to let it hang and dry completely, but you don't want to hang it up when it's damp, because when it's damp and it's hanging up, the weight of the sweater will pull it out of shape. So if you want to do a final kind of airing out, you can do that, but only after it's dry to the touch. Clean sweater, washing the sweater by hand, one of life's basic little skills that everybody should know how to do. And look at this beautiful, clean sweater. The last thing I like to do is to just put it on to give it its final shape and make sure that it's the same size. So I just sort of adjust it, and perfect. All those coffee spots are gone and it still fits. What do you think? You think you can do this at home? Try washing a sweater in the sink? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, but please subscribe for more videos just like this one.